And what's going on, Devils fans? As always, it is your host, your best friend, your confidant, your number one source, Neil Villapiano. And welcome to our first regular season edition of the Devil's State of Mind podcast, right here on the Hockey Podcast Network, as well as Sports Wire Radio, the best place to get everything you need to know about your off and rolling New Jersey Devils. And as always, Devils fans, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you're checking out this podcast episode. And thank you guys, as always, for taking time out of your day to check this episode out. You guys know that I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I do have some really exciting news that I want to quickly share with all of you, that this will be the last episode that I record from the area that I'm in right now, because I'm finally going to be able to move in to the new place that I'm moving into. And by the time you guys next see me in episode number 9, I will once again be in a completely different place. So I do apologize for all the craziness. It's been a crazy last couple of months, but things are starting to become much more concrete, which I cannot tell you how much of a relief that really is for me. So just wanted to give you guys that quick update. Also, wanted to quickly mention that with the home opener coming up this Thursday night, I will be there early to do my first ever mini mic interviews. That's right. I got myself a mini mic. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I made a bunch of posts about it on my social media platforms, Devil's State of Mind on both Facebook and Instagram, and Devil State over on Twitter and several other places as well. I will try to do the interviews around 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30, after we do the whole player intros and everything like that, and the red carpet. And I'm going to be right across the street from American Whiskey. So if you want to be on it, if you want to be interviewed, come find me. I'll be there, and I'm going to try to get as many as possible. Just something new that I want to try this year. I'm looking forward to adding that kind of content to the podcast. And so I hope you guys are excited for that. So again, my first mini mic interview meetup will be this upcoming Thursday at the home opener across the street from American Whiskey between 5 and 5:30 p.m. So make sure you guys are there, and don't be afraid to message me on all of our social media platforms to let me know, and I will get you guys prepared as much as possible. And last but certainly not least, shout out as always to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And right now, guys, with the NHL season officially underway, we already have games going on currently right now because it is Columbus Day and it's technically a holiday for many. DraftKings has got a great offer for you right now. You sign up with our promo code at DraftKings.com, THPN. You bet $5 on your first bet, you get $300 instantly in risk-free bet money. It is an absolutely can't miss opportunity to get in on a whole of the huge money cash prizes that DraftKings has to offer. So again, make sure to go sign up with our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Use promo code THPN. You bet $5, you get $300 instantly in risk-free bets. And also, again, last but certainly not least, make sure to go check out my Fanatics store, the Devil's State of Mind Fanatics store, to get yourself the latest and greatest Devils merch from the official provider of the NHL for all merchandise, Fanatics. So again, just go to the link in my bio, find Devil's State of Mind Fanatics store, and you will find the best deals for the perfect gift for either yourself or any of the Devils family and friends that you have. So now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's quickly break down what we're going to do in this episode today. So we're going to recap the Devils' first 2 games of the regular season. Later on tonight, the Devils will finish off their 3-game road trip to kick off this season as they are in Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets, and they'll look to try to get themselves back-to-back wins and get some momentum heading into the home opener again this upcoming Thursday. We also have some more injury news that we do have to share with you guys. And obviously, as we all know, we know how this goes with the Devils, and it's been very, very frustrating. And then last but certainly not least, we'll just look ahead to the 3 games that are coming up, including tonight, the 3 games that are coming up this week for your New Jersey Devils. So as always, Devils fans, we got a bunch to get to here on this edition of the Devil's State of Mind podcast. So let's not waste any more time and get rolling. And we will get rolling and drop the puck with First, talking about the Devils' season opener last Thursday against the Carolina Hurricanes. A lot of hype going into this one, a lot of emotion going into this one. Again, the Devils' season last year ended in the same place that they opened up this year. And a lot of us were hoping that the Devils would come out with energy, with confidence, and with the determination to get themselves a big win to kick off the season. Unfortunately, that did not happen as the Devils ended up dropping this one in Carolina by the final score of 6-3 as they continue to struggle in Carolina. It has become their personal hell, so to speak, for the past many years now. And it's really become apparent that in order for this Devils team to take the next step towards being that cup contender that we want to see them get to, they're going to have to find a way to beat this Hurricanes team in Carolina. Yes, they've been able to beat the Hurricanes numerous times at home, but once they get to Raleigh, North Carolina, they seem to just struggle so very much, regardless of who's playing and who's out there. It's just been really, really frustrating. There were some things, though, to kind of look at from this game. First and foremost, it was very obvious to see if you were watching that the Devils struggled throughout most of the night just getting the puck out of their own zone. The Hurricanes' relentless forechecking was very, very difficult to beat. And again, this is, a Devils team that is certainly a lot healthier than where they were when they played them in the playoffs, but it just kind of looked like a carbon copy of what we had seen in the playoffs. And even though Jacob Markstrom had some good moments, he did struggle in this game as he ended up stopping 27 of the 32 shots that he faced. One of those 6 goals that Carolina scored was an empty netter, but then Markstrom conceded his 5th and final goal just moments later when he was still in the net as the Hurricanes just blew the Devils out in that third period, outscoring them 4-1. Taylor Hall got things going for the Hurricanes just about 4 minutes in on a deflected shot. So yet again, another former Devil haunting the Devils, but the Devils were able to push back in that second period much better. Dougie Hamilton tying the game up at 1 with a backhand shot that honestly, Freddie Anderson probably should have stopped, but nonetheless, it found its way into the back of the net. Another new Carolina Hurricane, former New York Ranger Keandre Miller, got his first goal as a Hurricane that gave the Hurricanes the lead back a little over a minute after the Devils had tied it. And then a few minutes later, Cody Glass on a 2-on-1 with a beautiful shot, top shelf over the glove side of Freddie Anderson and into the back of the net for a sweet, sweet goal that ends up tying the game at 2. And that's where we got to. Once we got to the third period, it was tied. So despite everything, the Devils were still very much in this game. Now, Keandre Miller got himself his second goal on a turnaround shot near the point that honestly Markstrom should have stopped. That was a fairly weak goal to give up. It gave the Hurricanes the lead back. But again, little over a minute later, Jesper Bratt off a feed from Brett Pesce, which honestly, I don't even think Pesce was necessarily looking to try to feed Bratt, but he was able to get to Bratt, who was streaking to the net, and Bratt was able to bank one home to tie the game up at 3 and tie the game up for the third time already in this game. And then things remained tied until unfortunately late in this game with 2:43 left to go. Seth Jarvis in front of the net. Once again, the Devils being hemmed in their own zone. Seth Jarvis was able to tap one into the net and give the Hurricanes the lead that they would not relinquish, as Jarvis would get his second moments later on an empty net. And as I mentioned before, Markstrom would give up a 5th and final goal in this one to Eric Robinson. Another goal that honestly shouldn't have given up. But nonetheless, the Devils come away with a disappointing 6-3 loss in the first game of the season. So, yeah, again, not what you wanted to see from the Devils. I think we were all understandably hopeful that the team would come out and play with a more sense of urgency and go from there, but it really was a struggle. And Dougie Hamilton, after the game in the post game, he brought up a really good quote that he said, we are going to have to figure out how to beat them in this rink if we want to do anything good this year. And he's absolutely right. For the Devils to get to where they want to go, which is that cup contending position, they're going to have to find a way to win in places like Carolina, and especially Carolina. And that's even before thinking about how they're going to beat Florida. Now, again, the Devils did have success against the Panthers last year as they took 2 out of 3 from them, with the 2 wins coming in South Florida. But nonetheless, you're still struggling to win in Carolina. And that needs to change if this team, as Doug Hamilton said, wants to have any chance of doing anything good. I think he nailed it on the head completely. So, Devils come away with a disappointing 6-3 loss to open up the year. A lot of negativity from that game. And unfortunately, things only got more frustrating as we learned that Evgeny Dodonov got injured in the third period. He only skated for 2 shifts in the third before he left the game, never returned. We really didn't even realize that he was out until Amanda Stein brought it up during the game that he wasn't on the bench. And Andre Palat got moved up to the first line with Jack and Bratt, which we were hoping that we wouldn't have to see that again this year, but it took less than the first game to already see that happening. And as of yesterday, we got the word officially that Evgeny Dodonov has been placed on injured reserve, with Brian Hallinan being called up from Utica. And according to the Devils, Dodonov has suffered a fracture in his hand that he's again suffered in the third period of that game. Did not return. He will not play. Obviously, the rest of this road trip, very unlikely he's going to play in the home opener on Thursday. There is no timetable for him. So we don't really know specifically when we are going to see him again. But if you are on Twitter, you've definitely heard of this man before, Dr. Haras Gruwal, who's really good at breaking down a lot of athletes' injuries, particularly hockey players. And a lot of time people will go to him and ask him for his opinion on certain things. Gruwal wasn't specifically asked about his opinion with the Dodonov injury. He kind of quote tweeted what Christy Flannery had said about this news. And this is what Dr. Gruwal had to say. He said, likely 4+ weeks before the fracture heals for Dodonov. Technically, it can return earlier. All comes down to the specific bone and the type of fracture, but I don't think the Devils will rush him. So, again, he is a doctor. You're going to have to, take that with what you will. Again, we don't have an official diagnosis or timeline as to how long Dodonov is going to be out, but nonetheless, it looks like he's going to be out for the next couple of weeks. His month of October might already be up. And so a guy like Brian Hallinan, who I had talked about during the preseason and had played really well in the preseason, and I had said that I think he deserves a true opportunity. Well, this is now the opportunity he's going to get. And who knows, maybe this might be the last time that he can truly prove himself with the Devils, that he can help this team score and ultimately help this team win. He was the Utica Comets MVP last year, really stepped up. He hasn't played that many games in the NHL, 4 to be exact. Has, again, not really been given that opportunity to really play at a high level and given the chance to play consistently. So maybe with Dodonov being out, this might give him the opportunity that he's certainly been looking for. So that was really where we left things off overall with that game against Carolina. And so the next game that the Devils were going to go into was that road game on Saturday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And there were a lot, and I mean a lot of, emotions going into this one because of just the fact that you're coming off such a disappointing loss against Carolina, and you're going up against a really difficult team in the Tampa Bay Lightning, regardless of where they are at this point with their, their core and things like that. This is still a really good team. So there weren't a whole lot of confident people, at least from the outsider's perspective, that felt that the Devils were going to find a way to not only play better, but to ultimately and most importantly win the game. Well, the Devils surprised pretty much all of us as they came away with a 5-3 win against the Tampa Bay Lightning in Tampa Bay. And that was a much needed win for the team. First and foremost, the Devils, without question, had one of their best first periods that they've had in a long time. As we know, the Devils last year were dead last in the NHL with goals scored in the first period. They had 82 last year. This is a team that has certainly not done well at getting off to a good start. But the Devils certainly did the opposite of that and got off to the start that they wanted, scoring 3 goals in the first period and out shooting and dominating the Lightning with shots on goal 16-2. The Lightning struggled that entire 20 minutes of generating much of anything, and the Devils' forechecking and speed really took it to them in that first period. Things got underway with Timo Meier in a scramble in front on a rebound, getting his first goal of the year on a poke into the nets. That gave the Devils the 1-0 lead. And then we had a sweep play where Arseny Gritsuk came down the left wing, got around a defender, and made a great cross crease pass right in front to a streaking Connor Brown, who banks it home and gets himself his first goal as the Devil, gives the Devils a 2-0 lead, and Arseny Gritsuk gets his first official point in the National Hockey League, as Connor Brown and Gritsuk were on fire in this game. The chemistry was very obvious. They were continuing to make life difficult for Tampa Bay, regardless of at any point who else was on the ice. Luke Hughes getting himself already his 3rd point of this season as he continues in just his 2nd game that he's played, because again, he didn't play all preseason. He looks like he's already in mid-season form. And then Nico Hischier on a wraparound, he was able to bank it off of a Lightning defenseman and into the net to give the Devils the 3-0 lead after 20 minutes. And as you could see, Hischier already with a multi-point night, Timo Meier as well, and Luke Hughes with 2 assists in that first period. And the Devils really dominated in that first 20. And then things got more frustrating in the second period, where even though the shots were fairly even, 7-6 in that second period in favor of Tampa Bay, the Lightning were able to get on the score sheet twice, as Yanni Gourde got the first one in the slot, and then Ryan McDonough near the blue line was able to get one past Markstrom to make it 3-2. So the Devils were struggling a lot more in that second period. So really, for all the good that they did in the first 20 minutes, they did the exact opposite in the second period. And so now, what looked like a game that the Devils were going to dominate from start to finish now became a close game. And you start to wonder and fear about the possibility of, what if the Devils blow this whole game and they go to 0-2, and your mind starts to think that way, as we all negatively have done for a long time. But the Devils came out in the third period and pushed right back. Jesper Bratt with a beautiful poke check at the blue line, shorthanded breakaway, and he buries it top shelf, beating Andrei Vasilevsky to regain the 2-2 goal lead. Bratt now with goals in each of the first 2 games this year. And then Connor Brown and Arseny Gritsuk connect yet again. This time, Connor Brown from the right side, kind of just throwing it on the net. I don't know if it just caught Vasilevsky by surprise, if he was screened even a little bit. It didn't look like it. It just fooled him. And the puck ended up in the back of the net, with Connor Brown getting his 2nd goal of the game and Gritsuk getting his 2nd point of the game. Shimon Nemec getting the other assist on that one. And the Devils, within the first 6.5 minutes of this third period, all of a sudden were back up by 2. And even though the Devils did concede one more goal late in the third, as Darren Rash was able to make it 5-3, as Don LaGreca, who was making his Devils MSG regular season debut, the Devils could put a pitchfork in this one and came away with the 5-3 win. And it really was a breath of fresh air to come away with a win against a very good team, a team that a lot of people are already looking at as one that can again make a run in the playoffs. We know how difficult Tampa Bay is to play against on, a year-to-year basis, but the Devils proved in many ways that yes, they can hang with the top teams in the league, and especially on the road. And those kind of road wins are going to help this team moving forward. So it was great to see them come away with that win. One thing I did want to point out, and I wanted to give a shout out to, is Don LaGreca, because again, that game was his first regular season game as the new play-by-play voice on MSG for the Devils. He was talking about how this was a childhood dream. He gets to call games with his favorite player growing up in Kenny Danico. And while he did make some mistakes throughout the game, and yes, some people would say that maybe he talked a little too much. Nonetheless, his goal calls and his end of the game calls I thought were tremendous. That goal call for the Jesper Bratt breakaway I thought was great, because what you're noticing is passion. Don LaGreca grew up a Devils fan. He is a Devils fan. Then now gets the opportunity to be the play-by-play voice of his favorite team. So you're getting that passion immediately. I would do the same thing if I was in Don LaGreca's position. It would be that passion. And I love that. And I think it's important. And that's not a knock towards Steve Cangelosi or Bill Spalding. It's just more of the obvious thing that Don LaGreca is loving what he's seeing from the Devils and calling those big time goals. He got it. And I think he did a really, really good job. And I'm excited to listen to him more. Going to obviously listen to him tonight when the Devils take on the Blue Jackets. And I'm excited to see what he can do throughout this, because again, I think just having a guy that is not only fairly good at what he does, he's passionate about this team. I think overall that's going to go a long way. And he's going from where he did so many games on the radio to TV. And for anybody who has been in this position, the biggest difference between radio and TV broadcasting is the fact that when you're on radio, whoever's listening to you, they're not watching the game. The fans are not watching. They're listening to you to give a description of every little thing that's going on. When you're on TV, while yes, you're still going to be broadcasting, you may not have to say as much, and there might be more of a flow, especially with your color commentator, because the fans can also see what's going on while they're listening to you. So I think Don is going to understand that more as we go along here, and I think he's going to get better. I don't believe that this is just what he's going to be the whole time. I think he will get better as we go along. And tonight's another opportunity to continue that. So I just wanted to shout out Don LaGreca because I really love the passion. I'm excited about what he can continue to do here, broadcasting this Devils team. And hopefully the Devils can give him a lot of reasons to show that passion more and more. So I just wanted to do that. Lastly, here, a couple things I wanted to point at specifically from, again, this win over the Tampa Bay Lightning, starting, as I mentioned before, with Luke Hughes, who is off to a really, really fantastic start. 4 periods of play. So this was posted right after the first period of that game against Tampa Bay. 4 points. And again, safe to say he's justifying his $9 million price tag early. And even in this game, he got power play 1 opportunity. So there is that confidence that the Devils have in Luke Hughes, and he's showing that off through the first 2 games. He already leads the team in points. And that's going to be really huge because he's going to have to prove to himself, prove to the Devils, and prove to everybody that he is worth the $9 million per year that he is making. And this is exactly what you want to see, especially from a guy who didn't practice at all and didn't play at all during training camp or the preseason and just got thrown into it. Again, this is only the second full game that Luke Hughes has played so far this year. So that's really, really great to see in terms of him just getting off to that strong start that he really, really needs. The next thing I wanted to shout out and bring up again is talking about Connor Brown, who, again, he comes over via free agency from the Edmonton Oilers, where he was on back-to-back teams that made the finals. And early on, he's showing that depth scoring that we've been looking for and why the Devils wanted to bring him in. He ended up with 2 goals in that game against Tampa, and he just looked really, really confident out there. And this is a guy that has that speed, has a really, really solid shot, will crash the net. And I think all that's going to be important in a lot of different games throughout the year. And it's great to see him in just his second game already making huge contributions to helping the Devils win a game. And that's really, really important. I also want to talk about one of the guys that was playing on his line with him, and that is Arseny Griciuk, who I know that right now, at the time of this recording, there's a little bit of unnecessary, criticism from Devils fans towards the Devils themselves about, you know, the translating, for Gritsuk and, everything like that. And I'm just here to tell you that it really isn't that deep. I just want to make that clear because I think it's ridiculous that people are looking this much deep into it because he does have a telegram that a lot of people are seeing him, you know, talking and kind of giving you a day by day of how his, life is going here in the NHL. But again, he's also putting these messages out with not the world's greatest level of English language. He's gonna get better. He's gonna get better as we go along here. And there are people around him that are going to continue to help him get better. So I just wanted to bring it up that like everybody needs to like relax and understand that this is not that big of a deal and it's not that deep. But what is deep is the play that Grutsyuk has had in these first two games. Even in the few minutes that he played in that first game against Carolina, he still showed, him having that speed, being aggressive, putting the puck on net. It's really important. And you saw the talent in this second game with Connor Brown. That play he made, he got around a defender, coming up the left side and made a great cross crease feed to Connor Brown right there for that first goal. Was awesome. Him driving that puck into the zone that eventually led to him feeding it to Brown for his second goal of the game. There's that chemistry, and I love to see it. And Grutsyuk has already played with a handful of different guys in this lineup, and he's continuing to make everyone around him play better. And it feels very much like it's only a matter of time before he gets into that top six and he starts contributing there. He's going to get power play 2 minutes moving forward, or at least in this game against Columbus, according to Sheldon Keefe. So if and when the Devils get on the power play, be curious to see, what he's able to help do on that second power play unit. Really, really looking forward to that. But I wanted to give credit to Gritsuk because he's really, really stepped up and been really, really impressive to watch. He's really showing right now, so far through two games, that he's the real deal. And I can't wait for him to get that first goal of his NHL career. Maybe it's tonight. We shall have to wait and see. Couple things that I wanted, two really quick things that I wanted to mention that were more on the negative side from this game. Number one, the Devils' power play has yet to score. They've had 6 opportunities in the first two games and haven't scored. And I haven't really had that many great opportunities either. Now, again, we have 80 more games, including tonight, to go. So there's a lot of time to get things going. But you look at the talent that the Devils have on these power play units. These guys need to be averaging 4, 5, 6 shots per power play, even if they don't score. Because eventually, with that aggressiveness and putting the puck on net that much, you're going to find the back of the net on the man advantage. Devils are going to switch up some lines on the power play units, according to Sheldon Keefe earlier today at Morning Skate. So we shall see if those things end up helping this power play get going. And I think it's only a matter of time before it does. A little bit of the issues is bad luck and some really good saves from the goalkeeper, but some of it also has to do with the fact that they are not as aggressive as they normally can be. So again, we're only 2 games into the season. For all we know, the Devils get 2 or 3 power plays and they score 2 or 3 power play goals tonight. But I think it's also important, I will say on the flip side, that the Devils are finding more goals 5-on-5, because that was something that, especially towards the latter half of the season, they were not doing as much. They were relying too much on their power play. So it's good to see them find ways to score despite not getting it on the man advantage, because if you're able to score both at a consistent basis via 5-on-5 and on the man advantage, that just makes your offense that much more dangerous, regardless of who you're playing. So I just wanted to point that out. Another thing that is of a lot of concern to a lot of people has been the play of goaltender Jacob Markstrom, who, again, we know about what's going on in terms of the Devils trying to get him signed to an extension. Might be a 2-year deal, depending. He obviously, he is in his mid to late 30s, but he is not doing himself any favors, as he's given up 8 goals through his first 2 games. And so you kind of are worried about, is this going to be one of those, years where maybe Markstrom is more struggling than being that elite netminder that we saw a lot last year? You hope not, right? Markstrom's going to get the game off tonight. He's not going to play. It'll be Jake Allen. So Jake Allen will get his first start of the regular season. And, again, same with Markstrom. Confident that Jake Allen could come in, be solid, and help this team win the game. And that's going to be the most important thing. But I do have my concerns about Jacob Markstrom. And I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of the criticisms that he's had throughout a lot of his career, where there are times where he is overly aggressive. He's overly aggressive coming up, trying to make a play, trying to do a bit too much. Even sometimes he's trying to play the puck and get it out, and he ends up turning it over, and that creates an opportunity. Even if it doesn't eventually lead to a goal, it's still an issue. So a lot of this for me is going to be about, I want to see Markstrom kind of settle down and get back to just basic goaltending. And as the great Steve Dangle would say, if you're a goaltender, tend the goal, right? And that's exactly what we want to see Jacob Markstrom do on a consistent basis. That is his job. And 8 goals through 2 games is not going to give anybody any sort of confidence, not just this year, but moving forward, that do we really believe that Jacob Markstrom is our guy moving forward that could help us lead to a Stanley Cup? The other thing, again, as always, is that reality. We're only 2 games into the year. And a lot of times goaltenders struggle through the first couple of games, maybe in the first month before they really kind of get rolling here. So again, we shall see. I think it's very likely he'll end up getting the nod in the home opener against the Florida Panthers. That'll be a really good test for him coming off of a win despite giving up 3 goals. He did make a bunch of saves in that third period that I thought really helped the team ultimately shut the door and get the win. So the talent is still there. There still is that belief from the Devils in Markstrom, but certainly something to be concerned about, in my opinion, through 2 games. And again, I hope that he can really turn it around. So overall, I think from the first 2 games, you could definitely say it was a tale of 2 different games, right? The Devils certainly did not play the way that they wanted to against Carolina. And they're going to have another shot later in the year to go back there and have a better performance. And they still have to play them a couple times in New Jersey. But certainly not the way you wanted to come out in the first game of the year. But then they came out in that second game and redeemed themselves, especially offensively, really dictated a lot of things. And that was really, really important. Top guys being the top guys, getting some depth scoring as well. All that is very, very important. So now let's see if the Devils can take the good from that game against Tampa Bay and translate it to the game tonight against Columbus and end this road trip on a high note. You can go 2-1-0 to start the year and going and on that first road trip and go home with with wins in 2 of the first 3 games. You're giving yourself that early confidence, especially knowing what's coming. And that is the next 2 games. You're going to have the defending Stanley Cup champions and then the team that has lost to the defending Stanley Cup champions each of the last 2 years in the Edmonton Oilers. So the schedule continues to not get that much easier, but this is a good early test for this Devils team if they want to get to where they want to go, and that is being a cup contender. All right, before we wrap up this episode, just want to quickly give another more longer shout out to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the National Hockey League. And hockey is back. And this season, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, brings you all the speed, skill, and nonstop action you love. And again, new customers, bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Literally, the second that you win that bet, you get that $300 to do whatever you want with via DraftKings Sportsbook. And, I use DraftKings all the time, and there's no reason that you shouldn't use it as well. It's another really exciting way to get in on all of the action. And most importantly, get a little bit of money on the side. Makes those wins and those plays mean that much more to everybody. And I highly, highly, highly recommend you go over to DraftKings Sportsbook and work with and get in on all the huge cash prizes, guys. This is an opportunity you do not want to miss out. And all you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use our code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boo Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see DraftKings.com/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. All right. So before we say goodbye on this episode here, let us quickly look at what is ahead here for the Devils, not just this week, but overall with their schedule. Because again, as I mentioned before, it's a tough schedule. It's probably one of the tougher ones for any team in the first month of the year. So again, as mentioned before, the Devils tonight here on October 13th, 2025, they are in Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets to wrap up their 3-game road trip. And then the Devils will start to play their home games. They're playing a lot of home games over the next 2 weeks. First and foremost, again, with the home opener on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday, the 16th, against the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. And then on Saturday afternoon, you're taking on the two-time defending Western Conference champion, led by Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, the Edmonton Oilers. So you have 3 tough games this entire week. And again, you're hoping that the Devils win more of them than lose much of them. And then the following week, and we'll get back to this next episode as well, you go to Toronto to take on the Leafs. And then the second game of a back-to-back, you're at home next Wednesday against the Minnesota Wild. And then you wrap up that week with a Friday night game against the San Jose Sharks. And then a Sunday afternoon matchup against the high-powered Colorado Avalanche. And that's the first of 2 games in a row against them, because then after that, on the 28th, you're in Colorado to take on the Avalanche before you end the month of October in San Jose against the Sharks. So, as you can see, this schedule does not get any easier. They're already getting ready for their West Coast road trip in 2 weeks, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Again, Devils puck drop tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on MSGSN against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Let's hope that our boys can find a way to get a win and finish their first road trip of the season with 2 wins out of 3 games to get themselves ready to go for the home opener this upcoming Thursday. And on that note, Devils fans, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Devils State of Mind podcast. As always, thank you guys so much for checking out the episode and taking time out of your day to check the episode out. You already know that I greatly appreciate it. If you're here on YouTube and you like what you see, make sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell all of your friends to do the same and punch that notification bell so you get notified every time a new episode or clip from the episodes comes out here on YouTube. And also make sure to go subscribe if you haven't already on the audio platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, SoundCloud, all of them. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, as always, make sure to do me a favor and leave a 5-star rating on either Apple or Spotify, just so that I got a couple more ratings over on Apple. Really do appreciate it from everybody. Continue to do that. It will help continue to grow the podcast, get it out there to that many more people, and make Devil's State of Mind the #1 destination to get everything you need to know about your New Jersey Devils. And if you want to continue to check out more from the podcast and about the New Jersey Devils, follow the podcast on our social media platforms, Devil's State of Mind on Facebook, on Instagram as well, Devil's State of Mind, and on Twitter at Devil's State. You can also follow the podcast on TikTok, Neil.Villapiano. It's just my name that you can see in the bottom left corner of your screen here on YouTube, Neil.Villapiano. You'll get clips and also analysis from anything going on with the Devils. And also make sure to follow my BlueSky as well to get game updates and so much more going on with the New Jersey Devils as well. But again, thank you so very much for checking out this episode, and we will see you in the next episode. And once again, if you are at the home opener and you want to be a part of it between 5 and 5:30 p.m. at the home opener across the street from American Whiskey, I'll be doing my first mini mic interviews. So again, hit me up on social media if you want to be a part of it and come hang out and just, get ready to be interviewed. And I'm really excited to do it. And I'm looking forward to interviewing many of you. Everyone, continue to be the awesome people that you are. And as I always say at the end of every episode, put those horns up, baby, and let's go, Devils.